Hello and welcome to Life Are We There Yet? The self-progress podcast which seeks out ways to lead as fulfilling a life as possible on this madcap journey that is life. We are your ignorant hosts. Isaac, say hello.
Hello.
And nothing else. And I am Jack, and on today's episode we will be discussing how to go about doing what it is that you want to do in life, with a rather fine young gentleman alongside us. But first, Rookie Maestro. Yeah, I remember that being your nickname. Yeah, don't think I forgot. Roll the theme tune.
Up and down, left and right, you say we should, I think we might wander for a while. Up and down, left and right, you say we should, I think we might wander for a while. And we came here from somewhere and we could go anywhere else, just don't ask me, are we there?
Now, at school or college, you're essentially herded into a pen and shouted at from various directions, instructing you to have your life ready and sorted and know exactly what you want to go and do, know who exactly you want to be, and basically know why you exist. For many, though, us included, the now standard pathway of going to uni has turned out differently to how we expected, and for others, it's just never actually appealed in the first place. But at our stage and age in life, as these fragile snowflake millennials that we so often get called, it can be really difficult, to step off the treadmill and to just not go through the motions. But hopefully this episode will show a little bit better, at least, that if you do just stop and take a second and take a moment and really think about what's right for you and not for other people, you can really reap the benefits. Basically, if you're able, do what you want to do and not what others perhaps expect of you. With that in mind, on today's episode, we are happy, nay, delighted, to be joined by none other than Jared Riverguest. Yes, that really is his middle name, and yes, it is awesome. A good friend of ours from school who, having always been more business-minded, I think it's fair to say, decided against university and instead opted to set up his own business in the world of vintage and antiques, as you do. We are sat here in his rather fine workshop here at home on a glorious summer's day. Jared, hello. How are you doing, mate?
A pleasure to be here, Jack and Isaac. It's absolutely fantastic to be here with you both.
This is one of those dulcet tones. He's made to do this.
Oh,
he is absolutely...
Years of training.
Hello,
Years
this
of
is
training.
Jared Riverguest.
Speaking to you
Yeah.
from the workshop.
And it is a really cool workshop, I have to say.
Thank
We
you
are
kindly, gentlemen.
in
It's
the
very
middle of
kind.
lots of nice arty clutter.
Antiques.
and some
Eclectic
antiques.
junk.
Yeah, an
That's
eclectic...
what we like.
It's a good mix.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Organised chaos, I think, is the phrase.
Sums up my life after
Yeah.
school, really, to be fair. Organised chaos, I think.
Okay, so Jared, firstly, and I think, most importantly, we've got to get straight to the nub of the question, the really hard-hitting issue. There's got to be a story behind that middle name, surely. River.
River.
Where
yeah.
does that come from?
Well-
Mine's Matthew. Yours, what's yours?
John.
John.
Yeah.
John.
So,
We are,
so
we are,
boring.
we are,
It's no
we are
river.
gospel people. We are. Well, where does
It's
river
no
fit
river.
in?
To be fair, I mean, a river actually came from my mother's side, actually, to be honest with you.
Ooh, it has history.
It does have history. It actually has a story. I know, fantastic for
Go
a
on,
podcast.
indulge
Isn't it?
us.
So, my mother was lying in hospital in Wolverhampton, repping the city. Yeah, repping the city. Yeah, we're going up.
Oh, God. And it's reached football already.
And she was lying there and things, and father came in and things, ready to get ready to name me and things, and they wanted me to be called JR, would you believe, after the Texas series. So I mean,
wow.
Oh, yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, and that was what Mum didn't want. So Dad wanted it, Mum didn't want it, but
So compromise.
compromised
River.
with River, and River is actually after River Phoenix. So I
there we
mean,
go.
yeah, as I say, it has got some history. I think obviously I don't want to go the same way as him, but
you
I
weren't
mean,
sort of birthed in a river. I
yeah,
think,
no,
dramatic
it wasn't
like that.
anything dramatic. I'm afraid it wasn't
Yeah.
anything exciting. But River
In
Phoenix
white
is what I was.
water.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, the main reason I actually kept the name for my business side of things was to do with my phone, actually, believe it or not. It's got quite a strange story. So whenever I was picking up the phone from my school, obviously I said Jared. Oh yeah, it's Jared here
Yeah.
and things and stuff. Whenever it was my business phone, all I was doing was saying, oh,
Yeah.
hello, River. And it was just a way that if
To
somebody
sort of
was after me,
distinguish.
yeah, exactly. And it was an easier way for me to know both of my names, but still at the same time have both of them and be able to tell who was calling me and who wanted who and that kind of thing and stuff. So
Business minded from a
I
young
know,
age.
a young age. Can you believe?
Okay, so if you could briefly outline what it is you do with your business, for us who perhaps know what you do from an outsider's perspective, but don't know the ins and outs.
Yeah,
of it.
exactly.
So
We've got a vague idea.
Yeah,
We still
why? Of
don't
course.
really- and obviously, most of the listeners will have no
No
idea
idea
who
of
you
what
are.
I do. Of course, no worries at all, gents. So from a young age, kind of 16 years old and things, I kind of had a unique dress sense and style and things.
Can confirm.
Can confirm.
Can
Thank you,
confirm.
gents. Cheers. And that kind of got me into the whole vintage scene. So I was going to vintage kilo sales in Birmingham and Wolverhampton, which is where you pay for your clothing per kilo. You can get as many items you want for a kilo. I think they're about £13 a kilo, I think. So I got a bag of kind of shirts, and obviously you know how much a shirt weighs, quite not a lot at all.
Yeah,
so I
yeah.
was getting about 30 shirts and things, bringing them back, and all just paying $13.99, so cheaper than your high street. So that's where I personally...
And looks better.
And looks
a lot
better.
Of the time.
Quality there, exactly, yeah. And you don't need to feel as bad about it because it's probably made in Britain as well, which is
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
better as well. So, as I say, I kind of got into the scene from that kind of age and stuff. But if we go even earlier, obviously my mum had a antiques and vintage shop herself in Bridgenorth High Street called Gin and Teacups. As you can tell, our names are like the alternate names,
Yeah.
obviously, as well. So
Is that still going?
no, so mum is now retired now, so
Is
she's
she?
taken it out and passed it all over to me.
The
and-
mantle has been passed on to
yeah,
the
exactly. So
upcoming
I
next
generation.
generation.
The
next generation. It carries on. So as I say,
Jared gets the sequel.
the sequel. But so we got into that from a really young age and things. And I was working on a Saturday in the shop and things from about 11, 12 years old and things. Was doing the books by 13, 14, and looking after the accounts by kind of 15, 16 years old. So really, I've had business minded kind of instilled into me since 11 years old, really. And as I say, so it started when we went to the kilo sales, was buying stock, and then I realised that actually I could sell these items for £5, £10 each and things, and I was making my money back, and I could have 8 shirts, 9 shirts for free because I'd sold the one for £10, £15.
absolutely.
So in my
It's a
mind, I
win-win
was
kind of
exactly.
situation,
I was
yeah.
thinking, do you know what? This is kind of the path I want to go down. This is people obviously are in need of quality vintage garments, and there is alternate people out there as well. So shout out if you're an alternate kind of person that dresses not your stereotypical kind of style. So as I say, people are obviously in need of those type of things. People want the quality. People want something that they're not going to be able to see somebody walking down the high street.
To stand out, you know,
Exactly,
something-
yeah.
something a little bit
and I think
different.
it's the stand out, but it's also not to be in with the crowd, because obviously if you go to Topshop, there's a chance of you
Yeah.
picking somebody else who's got the same kind of top as you. I know for some of the girls that we've dealt with before and things that they have a real problem with going to
Wearing the
balls.
same
Yeah,
dress.
exactly.
Oh, I hate it when that happens
yeah,
to me.
I know,
It's just
completely.
an absolute.
And I've heard of shocker stories where somebody spent kind of £2,000 on a dress and things, and then they've come
Christ.
back and the same girl has been in the same
So
dress.
let me just wipe
yeah,
those tears
exactly.
away.
So we've all sorts of horror stories. So we think that buying vintage and things, obviously you're saving it from going wasted to going into waste and things as well. But also the quality, and also you can't find it on the high street as well, so it's almost unique.
If it is this kind of thing, as you're saying, it's pretty much a win-win. You know, lots
Yeah.
of positives come from it.
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
is it that not more people do it? Do you think?
I think it's the ease. I think
Do you have to go out of your way a
because
bit
people
more?
people like the easy life. And don't get me wrong, I'm the first person to say I'd absolutely love an easy life and things. But I know from obviously not going to university myself personally and things that I've had to create my path rather than the path being put in front of me, which I think is the biggest thing to come from it. So if you're self-employed, if you don't want to go to university, and you leave after school, so 18, that kind of age, I think you've got to create your own path from that moment rather than letting university take you down another step of your life, really. That's the biggest thing.
I think you're right there, because we think sort of setting up or creating anything, you know, as you said, making your
Yeah,
own
of
path.
course.
It's one of the sort of most exciting things there is.
Of course,
You kind of get that
100%.
kind
Yeah,
of childlike
exactly.
giddy
Yeah.
excitement,
Yeah.
and anticipation, because you're sort of entering this whole new unknown. But at the same time, I'd say it brings a lot of doubts with it as well. You know,
A lot of
Yeah,
doubts.
yeah,
it
because
is.
Yeah.
we've had the amount of times we've been sort of this is about 6-7 months worth of planning this podcast, I'd say.
Yeah, from its initial stages to now, and,
Yeah,
and we
its
still
initial
wouldn't consider
concept.
ourselves
Polished by any
polished.
means. But I mean, like we almost sort of cancelled it and culled it for many
exactly.
sort of poor reasons, which
Mhm.
really, just self doubt and oh, what if someone says it's not amazing? Oh, what if one person gives it a 2-star review and all this
Yeah.
kind of thing? And it's ridiculous because if you don't put yourself out there, if you
You
don't.
don't.
So would you say when you made the decision to sort of go down that route, you were fairly kind of gung ho with it? Was it a big leap of faith, or was it something that you were like, actually, this is something that I think is a calculated risk? I know.
I think the biggest thing is in my own mind. Obviously, you have a completely different thought process to everybody looking from the outside in. So in my mind, it obviously made sense. Buy something for £13, sell the one of those items for £13. You got 6 items for free. That's it in my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thought process. That's when I started kind of about 15, 16, selling vintage clothes and things. And I think tastes have kind of gone down that way as well. Like I know Depop's like a massive site now, huge site for selling second-hand clothes. So I think people are still getting into the selling of second-hand clothes. And I think people want something new as well, but old at the same time. It's kind
of trendy.
It's an
isn't
odd
it?
sensation to
Yeah.
get something old, and that's the new, if you know what I mean. So I think it was in my mind, it was a calculated risk. I think from everybody from the outside looking in, I think when they saw me obviously going, oh, I want to do a fashion show at the end of my school term with a month to go before my biggest exams of my life, I think people were going, nah, surely it's a terrible idea. and
Would
things.
just like to point out, I did model on that
Yeah,
catwalk.
he did. Beautiful job.
Oh, thank you very much. I
Beautiful
was
job.
not angling for that.
He dropped it in.
Oh,
He's wrote it on
no,
my.
no,
He's
no,
wrote
no,
it on
no,
my
no,
sheet
no.
in front of me. But as I say, I think people were kind of going, yeah, we know. I don't know why he's doing that and things. And I think in my mind, I mean, my parents absolutely love them to bits and stuff. They supported me throughout, and they have done throughout the whole time that I've said no. But I've always said to myself, the second that I lose it, or it's something goes, or something doesn't work, or something like that and things, then I've always kind of got a backup business in place that I can use and stuff. But if it did go through, there was always that option for kind of extra tuition or bits like that I could have done.
Yeah.
But I think if you've got enough passion for it and you've got enough drive and get up and go to go and do that type of thing, I don't think you need it.
Yeah, I
personally.
think if you enjoy something ultimately and you want
Yeah,
to sort
of course.
spend a lot of time doing that, you'll find a way to
Yeah,
to do
and I
it.
think, and you do, and I mean, you sacrifice a lot of things. I remember going into shops and things and going, "Oh, I'd really like that. However, I can't buy any stock that week if I buy this, I don't know,
Yeah.
pair of shoes, or if I buy this top, or if I go, if you even want to go out and buy more stock. If there's I remember turning down a kind of like a Danish table. I remember turning that down because I thought I've got to be able to pay my rent next month, and if I have a terrible week this week, I won't be able to do that, and I won't be able to afford that next week. So you have to sacrifice, and I think if you've got, like I say, if you've got enough drive for it, I think the sacrifices are worth it in the end.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because that's a very, dealing with those problems and those considerations. It's something you've had to tackle a lot earlier than most people will.
Yeah, of
because
course.
obviously most people our age end up going to uni.
Yeah.
And there's still massive stresses to worry about there.
Yeah,
and
of course.
That's its whole different kettle of fish in
Yeah,
itself.
exactly.
But you're not having to balance the books, as it were, and
Yeah.
So you've had to sort of, I guess, mature pretty.
I think
quickly,
the
really.
maturity. I think the maturity, I'll admit, came quite early on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you had a deep voice by about the age of
Yeah,
6.
six.
So,
Yeah, it's
I mean,
about 6 years, 6, 7 years old. Yeah, that was. People thought I was Mr. Stephen Guest
Yeah,
by the time.
well, I remember meeting you, and it was like, "Hello, I'm Jared." Hello, I'm Jared. It was. Don't hurt me.
Hence, this commentator voice comes
Yeah,
out. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah. Hello.
Hello.
It's just
Hello.
matured like a good wine.
Fine wine. Yeah.
it's very kind of you to say that. I mean, I think the maturity came quite early on. And I think that's the reason why I kind of wanted to get out there early on. I think that's why I wanted to push forward, get into the business world, deal with customers. And I think the biggest kind of one is the general public, because obviously, like you say, you have people that are going to rate you 2-star. You've got people that are going to say it's fantastic, it's 5-star, is what I want to listen to. You've got the people who do constructive criticism, the people that are very negative about things. But you have a mixture of all those type of things. But I think as long as you're happy in yourself, I think it's about going forward and being happy in what you want to do yourself personally.
Yeah, when you're happy with doing what you're doing, it's easier to to accept when, say, people criticize it or
Yeah.
something. Because if you ultimately believe in it,
Yeah.
then it shouldn't matter as much
Yeah,
what
exactly.
other people. Obviously, I'm not saying you're wrong,
Yeah,
all your
yeah.
opinions are. But
Yeah.
it's if you believe in what you're doing, and you have conviction in it, it's much easier to follow through on.
Yeah, I think there's an
long-term
interesting
things.
thing that I've learnt as well along the way is in there's a quite a large furniture company, British made, called Urkel. Some
Yeah.
people might have heard of it. And that year was around kind of 1960s, 1950s kind of era. But some of the parents, well, my parents and parents as well, do remember that being in their houses
Yeah.
and things, and they didn't like it the first time round, and they sure as hell aren't going to like it this time around.
Yeah.
It's very much like they won't.
Set in
That
their
that
ways.
style isn't going to come back in. It's not very cool. But obviously, for my generation, I mean, most of my customers, I'd probably say, are kind of your 25 kind of to 35 kind of age, or it's the people who had it originally have kept it all the way through, and they just want to add even more to their collection.
Yeah.
So it's helped them even more. So you've got the kind of the 50s to 60-year-old group. So I mean,
there's definitely a niche there.
yeah, it's a big. Everybody goes. It's such a wide spectrum. It's such a big kind of group and things. But you kind of have to remember the bit in the middle, kind of your 40, 50. They're kind of not interested in it because they remember it
Yeah.
as their mum and dad's
Yeah.
kind of furniture and don't want anything
Yeah.
to do with it at all. They'd buy new. But as I say, my first thing came from when I walked into Next, was looking at kind of kitting out my room, kitting out my house and things like that, thinking about it, and I went straight into Next Home and looked at it, and it was £1,200 for a sideboard,
It's mad.
and
isn't
it was
Crazy.
MDF, and I mean it's MDF covered in oak ply, and I'm like, and it shocked me really that they were having the
brass.
yeah,
The
the brass,
nerve.
the nerve to charge £1,200
Yeah.
for something that's manufactured board, when you've got people out there that are throwing Urkel around, which is solid elm, solid, ash and things, solid ash wood,
Yeah.
and they're throwing that away and they're just getting rid of it, and they're selling it for kind of like £20-30, or there's somebody in even higher end dealers, they've got rosewood, they've got teaks, they've got solid pieces of wood and things, and they're kind of like your £600-700,
Yeah.
and you'd rather have that than a piece of MDF and
100%.
things.
I
It's
was talking to my mum and dad. My mum and dad are very into bargain hunt. All
Exactly.
the aunties. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. So am I. Besides the point. Anyway,
It's a great show to
it
work
is,
on.
it is.
I mean,
name
I mean,
drop.
drop that. Sorry, yeah.
But the thing is, you could kit out. Say you're moving into your new flat,
Yeah.
or you're just moving out of home
Yeah.
for the first time. You could kit out for and furnish your home for a much cheaper
cheaper,
price
yeah.
by just going to an
Yeah.
auction and buying.
Yeah, exactly.
dark
And I think,
woods,
yeah,
oak, mahogany.
Yeah,
Rather
exactly.
than going to.
I mean, some
know,
places.
IKEA or
I mean, exactly. Some places that I've been to. I mean, when I've been to Manchester, and some of the students, some of the people that have just moved out of their houses. I mean, we've delivered furniture before, and I've had a chat to some of the people that have bought from me.
Yeah.
You look at their houses, you think they're multimillionaires. They've got oak, beautiful French antiques. You've got amazing modernism movement design. You've got Danish furniture, Swedish. You've got all of those type of things, and you would think they're loaded. And
Yeah.
you look at them and things, but obviously you've been in kind of the trade for a few years and things. You kind of get to know, like, oh, he must have only bought that for about 200 compared to 700 he would have paid to get it brand new. And obviously that TV stand there is manufactured out of a kind of, you got a sideboard that's had the legs cut off, or something that's been a wreck and it's been restored.
Kind of upcycled.
Yeah,
restored,
exactly. And I think they look good. It's not like they go in there and they look like they've been put together kind of and made up, but they kind of look really good together, and they look like it should be. And I think it's scary to know that to get the same kind of look brand new, you'd be paying something between like £8,000 and £9,000 for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you feel like you've stumbled across this industry at a really good time? Because it seems like to me that everyone's getting into this sort of thing. So
I think the industry that I'm in particular, I think for my dealers and my fellow dealers that I work with and things like that, especially for the mid-century movement, its prime and its peak is around now. I think this is the kind of
caught the wave at the right
yeah,
time.
exactly. And I think I remember a few years ago and things, like I kind of fell in love with the style of the furniture. I think first for my Urkel and things like that, and things like I bought it before it was the popular. So if you look on Etsy,
You did it
look
before
on,
it was cool.
yeah,
You're a
exactly, trendsetter, wave rider and things. So I bought it before it kind of managed to steep up. Like, I mean, now you're looking kind of like 200 150, 200, 250 pound now for an Urkel with new covers, whereas before it was some auctions were just throwing it out to the side and saying it wasn't selling, when brown mahogany furniture and Victorian furniture was fetching 2,000, 3,000 pounds and things. And I think there will be another change, because obviously there's more and more Urkel, the price will go up and up and up, and then people won't be able to afford it, and they'll all go, now's the time to buy brown furniture, Victorian furniture, lovely kind of craftsmanship pieces, and then that'll creep up and it'll kind of take over again. But you'll still have that core enthusiasts, as we call them, kind of your Urkel enthusiasts, or your G-Plan, your G-Plan enthusiasts, or your Scandinavian enthusiasts that
love a bit of Scandi, love a bit of Hygge,
Scandi chic. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, and there's loads of sayings and there's loads of kind of words that have become popular, like mid-C and mid-C 20th century and all those kind of words now and things. And I think they're getting more and more into the market, more and more into trend. You can see kind of bigger corporations creating similar kind of items in the style of, in the works of.
People are actually realizing, this is the
market to go into. Yeah, I think the biggest one at the moment is your Urkel Pebble tables. They're kind of a disc-shaped table, and loads of people have recreated those as a nest of three and things. So the originals are obviously getting more and more pricey because people want the original. People want exactly what they want. So.
Yeah. You said before, why is it that more people don't, especially I'd say our age, get into, say, vintage fashion or buying this kind of thing? And you said most likely it's the ease element. It's that, can't be asked.
I know what I'll do. I'll go to a shopping market, I'll go to a mall, or I'll go to a shopping centre,
get whatever's there,
everything there.
It's a bit more expensive, but I can't be bothered to go.
Yeah, can't be trekking round.
Exactly. So how would you, you've recognised the problem there. What would be your approach going into the future to try and make, whether it's antiques or vintage fashion or whatever, just make it a bit more accessible to certainly to people our age, or just a more entry level.
I think that what a lot of the I'm going to say show organisers or event organisers, like your Kilo shows, like your Vintage Home Show, like your Manchester fairs, like your Lady Bay Vintage fairs.
Yeah.
I think they have now created this kind of entry time. So you've got, with a fantastic fair called the Vintage Home Show that we do, they have an early bird ticket, which is at 10:30. So entry from 10:30, or you've got your regular entry ticket, which is 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I think by making them almost accessible midday or kind of early morning, later on in the morning, I think they're more accessible to kind of our age group now, rather than your Malvern B2B events, your IFC kind of events. They are starting 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, which is when you'll see.
I'm not getting up for that.
Yeah, which a lot of, and it's everybody in the generation goes kind of, nah, it's fine. I'm getting in at that time. I've gone partying. I'm coming back and exactly. So Mackie's breakfast, exactly. That's what it's all about. As long as you hit that. So.
Yeah, that sweet spot.
The sweet spot after you've gone for a night out. Beautiful. But as I say, and then people. I've had a lot of people that have kind of criticised and gone, why are you getting up at that time? You don't need to be there that early. You don't need to be. It's where all the main trade happens. If you fall across something that you really love early in the morning, you're going to get that item and things. Where if you rock up at 10 o'clock and somebody's got there at 5, they've done kind of 4 hours, 5 hours worth of buying before you've even got there, and it's the scary point where you've got to be there on the dot. And that opens,
because you don't want to risk losing out.
Exactly. And fairs such as kind of Malvern, entry times at 7:30, but if you're not there for kind of 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at the very latest and things, you're not in the queue to get in, so you're not in the first 100 people to get through the door. So I think you've got to be committed. I think you've got to kind of say, this is where I want to be. This is what I've got to do. I've got to get to there. But I think for kind of the more entry level, so kind of your people who want to get into vintage fashion, the vintage Kilo sales are kind of going at 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock, I think, in the mornings now. And I think also the internet's had a big influence on the ease of access to vintage clothing, as well as ease of access to other clothing. Like you've got ASOS, huge corporation, Men, all those kind of things where you've got.
Because at university, and I'm not a cool kid that shops on ASOS.
Yes,
but
exactly.
you know, a huge amount of people get their stuff from ASOS.
Yeah, and it just comes delivered straight to your door, no worries and stuff. But I mean, I've ordered, I mean, the items I'm in now, these overalls and dungarees and stuff. They came with a really nice note, a nice package, brown paper, and it's just that personal element. Whereas stuff, I mean, the amount of times that I've heard of girls say, "Oh yeah, I ordered this dress from ASOS, but it's wrecked in the packaging and it's come delivered. I've come to this vintage home show, or I've come to this vintage fashion fair or furniture flea because I now need something to be able to replace this ASOS because it's come and I'm not happy with it. I've got to send it back," and it's always that fallback. So I'm there to kind of make it so it's the first choice rather than having to be the replacement choice, basically.
You kind of, what I like what you're doing is that you're sort of bridging the gap almost, you know, because it could be, and it probably is to an extent. There's still quite a stuffy world, you know. Your old hands, and they're very sort of you know, dedicated and traditional.
You've got your antique dealers, as we class them,
and then you've got, you know, as I said, these young people where it's not particularly cool necessarily to even if they think, oh, actually that might be something I like, they're never going to admit that because it's not the social norm to like that.
Exactly.
What I like that you're doing is, because you're a young guy that's set up your own business, you're not afraid to tout it and you know, and push it and broadcast it. You're showing, actually, this is okay. This is more than that. It's good to like it.
It's
and
good.
This is something we can get behind. So you're making it much more accessible. You're broadcasting it to a younger demographic, which is obviously vital for this. You know, the survival of the sort of craft. You said it yourself. It's more personal. It's more craftsmanship goes into every item and that kind of thing. I think what you're doing is really brilliant. Actually,
it's very kind. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we can't really relate to all the stuff you do, but I guess one thing we do have in common is that none of us here have a bit of paper saying that we've got a degree.
It's of course none of that.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness to you, you never actually went. We just dropped out. We are officially dropouts. You know?
The official.
We're a drop.
You have a title.
We are society's rejects. So
Surely though, is everybody goes on about like, oh, I dropped out, I did this and stuff. But it shows you've got your own mind. You know, you want to be able to change what you want to do. You want to be able to have that freedom to go out and express what you want to do. I mean, I was a fantastic job and stuff, and
thank you.
Jack's going back to do what he should have done in the first place, in my personal opinion. But there we go.
Yeah, you're not the only one. Fast realising.
Vastly realising.
I did was just a big old mistake. You know, big old mistake.
And I think by me kind of breaking that, because I think I was only one of a few. There was one or two, three of us, I think, that didn't choose the university, and we didn't fill out our UCAS. We didn't do any of our preparing for universities. We had no idea on courses. I didn't look up courses. I went to a single university, absolutely loathed and detested it, and thought, this is not for me. I want to be kind of free. I want to be able to do what I love doing. And I think the biggest thing that I've kind of learned is that if you're doing business, or because that's, I mean, personally myself, that's what I would have gone to go and study if I, you know, was tied down and told you've got to go to uni, there's no other choice. I think I would have gone to either do a business degree or something to that effect. And a lot of people say, well, what's the main aim when you've done a business degree and things? And I hear the same answer every single time. It's you want to own your own business and you want to be able to
doing without having.
And exactly, and I think that if you're, I mean, there was a case the other week actually, to be fair, and things, which I spoke to a lad. He'd done a business degree, very high accolades. He got a 2-1, I think, or something to that effect. Fantastic business ideas, really like head in gear. Like he knew exactly what he wanted to do. But speaking to people, dealing with people face to face, and having a conversation, or doing a deal, or that kind of thing, he just wasn't there. Just wasn't there, and it was such a shame because his business idea was there and things. So I've worked with him slightly to be able to kind of get that over that first hurdle, so the actual agreements are there and the signing of documents are there and things. So there's only now I want to order this from you, can you send me the invoice over? So there's only that kind of interaction now, which has helped him out massively. But if that first interaction isn't there, and it's not a certain interaction which leaves an impression on a business person, because remember, we're dealing with people I mean, I'm dealing with people every day that are kind of your 45, 50, that kind of age group, and also all the way down to 26, 27, all the way again up to your old style dealers at 75, where they've got something that they no longer want or they want to get rid of, and you're having to deal with them. So I think that the personality and the personal skills, I think, is a big impact on if you want to stay at uni or if you think you can make it on your own kind of thing. And I think you've got to have that self-belief.
Certainly with a business, you know, as you said,
Yeah.
it is a very personal thing. It's
Yeah.
a lot of social interaction, and you
Yeah.
sort of have the chance to hone it more, having not gone
Yeah.
to university. We're not, and just to set the record, we're not, you know, trying to dish on university or hate on it.
I would never
'Cause-
say, because at the end
no.
of the day, the people that are going to kind of employ other people have got to have degrees, they've got to get jobs, and I mean, you've got to have qualifications for number of jobs. And don't get me wrong, I'd never come out and say university is a terrible choice. It wasn't. It was a terrible choice for me, and I'd never say it was a terrible choice for somebody, or I'd never say it was a terrible choice for you. Or I'm not saying that's it. Everybody pens down, leave university, go and start your own businesses, because
It's
if not,
just what's right for you.
yeah, exactly. And I think that's, you've got to find in yourself if it's the right choice. The thing that I want to preach and go on about, and what I'll say over and over again, is that I want to say that if in yourself you've got the self-belief and you go, I know exactly what I want to do, and this isn't what I want to do anymore, and I don't want to be studying, or I don't want to be doing this. I know my business idea or my social idea or my personal idea is fantastic, but I just haven't got the confidence to go forward with it. I'm just here to say, you have got the confidence to go forward with it, and go forward with it and try it and
Take
see
a bit
if
of a
it
leap
would
of faith,
take a
and
bit of a
it's
leap.
a bit of a
Yeah.
cliche, but I think, you know, in many cases it's true. It's
paid off, yeah.
Because you don't know unless you give
No.
it a go.
And I think that university will always be there to catch you afterwards. Obviously, it's a fantastic system, and it's fantastic that we've got such wide variety of courses available, and the flexibility that a lot of them offer, finance available. So obviously I was giving somebody the example the other day, and obviously you can get loans for a university student, loans for a startup business, you get startup loans. So they still give you support in both senses, really. So
I think it's just because it's so much more, you know, when you apply to sort of apprenticeships and stuff as well. Going to uni, as you said, with anything, it's probably the easy route. Whether it's what you want to end up doing or not, it's safe, generally speaking. And it's, if anything, you know, it could, to me it was kind of like, oh, I don't really know what I want to do. I'll get a degree. It'll be a fallback. It's I'm on the treadmill for a few more years before I have to address anything, without really ever stopping to think, what do I want to do, and am I going to,
and what am I going to
implement-
love doing?
yeah, exactly. What do I enjoy doing?
Yeah.
And people sometimes, I know you have to be realistic and practical and pragmatic.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if you can, do what you enjoy, because even as you said, I'm starting a creative writing course come October, and although it's not started yet, I've been writing a lot more leading up to that.
Exactly, you
and I've been
start it
so
'cause you enjoy it.
exactly, and
You
I've been
start
so much
writing, yeah.
happier doing that than I ever was on. So I was on a marine biology course looking at fish and other such marine beasties like that. But it just wasn't for me, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's university is. Obviously, it's for a lot of people, and as I said, there were great things about it. I went, you know, a lot of societies, the acting society, uni. Some of my closest friends from uni were from that society. You found love.
I might have found love.
You might have found
That's
love with your
beautiful.
girlfriend.
That's
that you met there.
beautiful.
So there's it's incredibly, one of the, you know, the plus sides of uni. It's very multifaceted. It's
Yeah.
not, you're not really just there for the course.
And you'd meet people that you would never ever meet in your local area.
Exactly,
And it brings
exactly.
together,
Especially when you live in Shropshire.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, this
'cause you see
rural
nobody.
backwater.
You see nobody. You see nobody.
What's your escapism? What's your sort of venting strategy to keep things in perspective? To, you know, actually, it's just a bad day. Life goes on.
I think I mean, in my mind, it's fairly, you know, you go find an antique centre, find a place that does vintage fashion, go in and buy a new thing. So you got retail therapy, and you get a new suit out of it. Plus, you spend saving all the money that you would have spent than you would have got from a high street as well. So I mean, it's
So just go and escape
win-win
for a while.
Retail
go and-
therapy, retail therapy, and then also look out for stock on the way. Like, I mean, everybody. I mean, I get a buzz when I buy something. So think how I feel when I buy something, knowing that I can sell it. It's a fantastic buzz. It's a fantastic thing to be able to
It's a
kind of
thrill, isn't it? It's
yeah.
that
And
excitement.
I think, and it's exciting. I mean, nobody can ever know the excitement of when somebody I mean, I still get it in Ludlow all the time because I mean, in the shop that we're in and things in 55 Mill Street, it's kind of when they walk down the stairs carrying either a studio pot or a Danish table or the label to your Urkel 3-seater sofa that's upstairs and things, and it's got the price label on, and you're going, that is my money. That is, you're literally purchasing something that I've bought for, I wouldn't say a lot less money because obviously markups and things are obviously quite slim, and we obviously make a small amount of profit and things, and we do it for faster rotation. That's myself personally. I think that gives you a buzz, and I don't think you can ever kind of know what that feels like. And I think a lot of people have kind of got that from the massive rolling from Depop and things. When people put their second-hand clothing online and they sell it, and all they've got to do is just stick a label on it and send it to the person, and they're happy.
Anyone can be their own business person.
And you're happy and things. And I think with the ease now of the internet for auction sites online, like your eBays and your Etsy's and things, like I know people that have got full businesses just on Etsy, like their whole business and things, and they're doing kind of like 30-40 grand a year and things just on Etsy on selling second-hand clothes. And again, you've got people.
There's someone listening right now going, "What?"
There's somebody going, "No, you wouldn't believe it."
He's having me on.
Nah,
It's
a joke. No, I can.
It's that classic comedy podcast.
I can genuinely tell you, there's if you go online, if you go and look at the Vintage Wholesale Company, go and check those guys out and things, and you're paying kind of £2, £3 for a dress that's kind of better quality, fantastic items. Fantastic things. And I mean, there's a couple of ladies in the shop in 55 Mill Street in Ludlow that have got fantastic dresses, and I mean like couture dresses. They've got beautiful wedding dresses, they've got fantastic ball dresses, summer dresses, maxi, mini, everything from all eras and things, and they're charging kind of for a high quality item kind of your £48, and then you've got something right the way down like a maxi thingy dress, and you've got that for kind of £12, £18 and things. And it's when people are going online, they're scrolling through and they're going, on ASOS, going, what will that look like on me? And they're looking at models online saying, how will I look in that?
When you can actually,
you can go enjoy yourself,
go and
have
some social interaction,
and go and I mean,
make a day of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, and again, it's the ease thing, but I think it's just about striking a balance, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day and stuff, I mean, loads of kind of your antique shops and things, we're individual. We're not kind of run by a company. We're not kind of run by a chain. I mean, I've stayed open a couple of times past kind of like your 8-9 o'clock because there's been about 3 people in there, all fantastic lovers of fashion and things, and they just want to get brand new fashion and things. So we're not unreasonable if there's a reason for us to be there. If you're going to have a good time and you want to message and say, sorry, I'm really sorry, I can only get there past 6 o'clock, my work finishes at 5:30, I'll come straight there, I really love vintage fashion. 9 times out of 10, I don't think many people in our industry would have a problem with that, because they know that you've got a love for it, you really want to buy that. And I think even on weekends when people aren't working, I think that you've got that demographic now to be able to, that want work 9 till 5, but they want something to do afterwards. And I think that obviously you get your late night Christmas shopping and things and stuff, but big corporations don't want to open past 5 o'clock and things like that.
Exactly. So. You give people that personal touch, it makes them feel a little bit better. You immediately feel like you're a more valuable customer. I just wonder, I suppose this ties into probably our last question about your classic job interview. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Do you see?
But does that kind of, as brilliant as it is, you offer this lovely, friendly service, and it's much more one-to-one, customer focused. Does that sort of limit yourself in terms of scaling?
So
it always is scaling something in the future. So where do you see yourself, and how are you going to go about it, I guess?
Okay, so let's do it this way around then.
He's calling the shots
spin
now.
Spin it round. So when you've watched yourself, when you've watched on Bargain Hunt, and you go up to a stand, and you imagine yourself, and you go, and you hear those classic words as a dealer, and I'm sure everybody who I'm going to post this out to on the Vintage Dealers Inner Sanctum page on Facebook and stuff, I'm sure they'll all go the same, and it's like, what will you do this for? And they are obviously talking about the price.
Yeah.
And you kind of, if you imagine me in a morning, kind of 4 o'clock, pricing everything up with labels, writing all my labels out, going, right, this is £19, this is £18, I value this at £24. And then you get somebody come along and they go, will you do this for 20, or will you do this for 10, or will you do this for £5, or? And I'd just like to, do you think that's a social norm, or do you think that's would you expect to do that if you're paying for something secondhand?
No.
A large proportion of the demographic would kind of barter with you, because everybody thinks that's everybody thinks that's part of the second-hand dealer world. Like everybody thinks
that haggling.
Everybody
thing,
loves a haggle, and I think, don't get me wrong, dealer to dealer we haggle all the time because we buy a majority of stock. But I think when we're obviously dealing as far as that's concerned, I think we say to other dealers, because they understand, I think we go, I can't go any lower than 20. 15 is my best. 25 is my absolute on it. And then we accept that because we know, obviously, if I was in that position, I would want to be able to sell at that same price and things. And I think the only kind of thing that's kind of slightly changing, and think that people are kind of getting too comfortable with, is going up to kind of our stands, going up to events and things and saying, it's up at 24, will you do it for 20? Because they've got that bargain hunt, bartering show with us and stuff. And I think that the problem with that is it makes a bad impression when you see something on Bargain Hunt and they go into an antique centre and they go, it's up at £70, will you do it for 20? And then the antique person's going, yes. And it's like, that gives the wrong impression of our business. And I think that's the only thing that kind of hurts the longevity of being able to do that. Because I think that if we're there and we're having to accept ridiculously low figures and low sums of money, I think that will impact on how long we can survive as a kind of an industry.
Yeah,
and
is it really sustainable?
Yeah, and I think the TV have kind of reined it in slightly, I'd say. Now I think they're kind of showing that antiques aren't a cheap alternative. They're not they're an investment piece.
You can't take the mick with people.
Yeah, and I think if you look at a majority of kind of dealers, that's why there's not many of us full-time dealers around that can survive purely on our money. You see a lot of people, I mean, I'm saying I'm a full-time dealer. I have a small kind of part-time job on the side and things, but a lot of people struggle just on their own, so they need another income as far as like a small bit of spare thing and stuff. And the biggest thing that I've kind of learned is your self-employment. So you have to be going for 3 years before you can get books in and before people kind of take you seriously, like mortgages, banks and stuff like that, because obviously they don't see self-employment as you can kind of as a sustainable job. It's kind of, you need a salary this much a year and we need to be able to see that figure. Whereas if you're in self-employment, you can go, well, I've spent 10 grand this year, or I've spent £20,000 this year, so, and I'm only taking away kind of £100 this week or £200 the next week and things. And it's very variable because you can't guarantee, so you have to take an average over the 3 years, and they look at that and they go, you're a sustainable business, or it looks like you've got a constant flow of how much you take. So there's that as well, kind of adding to the element of it's harder for everybody to do it. So as much as it's harder, it kind of keeps out the people that are just doing it as a part-time, as kind of I'm just doing it as a pastime, this is what I want to, which stops the market being flooded with second-hand dealers, obviously. So
because I think it's very easy when you do see the antiques programs on the TV. You know, a lot of people probably see that and think, "Oh, I could do that."
Yeah,
quick
it's
profit.
Quick profit, easy money.
Yeah, you
can cash in hand, kind of thing.
And I think everybody gets the impression that you go to an auction, buy it cheaper than you're selling it in a shop, and then go and sell it. Because obviously they batter them right the way down in the shop, and they get less money, and they end up losing. How they lose, I don't know. I think Bargain Hunt should get me as an expert, but that's just a ploy. So
Tim Warnock, if you're listening.
So I think how the experts manage to kind of not make the full amount, or not make the money that they've battered somebody down with in a shop and stuff. And I think people then kind of get the wrong impression again, but the opposite way around. And they're going, well, if I can go to an auction and buy this item for £20 and the shop was selling it for £48, £50, £70, why would I go to a shop when I could go to an auction? Don't get me wrong, that's a fantastic thing for our industry. That's a fantastic thing for what we do. But again, it's a wrong impression, and I think there needs to be kind of something.
It's a snapshot. It's not.
It's not
taking into consideration.
It's not
that goes
by
on.
the way, I've got to put 4:30. I've had to drive all the way over to Malvern, Shepton, Ardingly, right down south and things, or
your tweed suits ripped.
Exactly. And it's just, I think, I mean, there's a fantastic dealer in Bracont Living in 55 Mill Street is a collective, and we all deal together. There's 14 of us in the shop, so we're always in there. There's loads of different stock coming in, clothing and kind of French things. I mean, Amy's travelling all the way from France all the way back to Ludlow kind of every other week to get stock, and I don't think people just assume it just appears there and goes, yep, that's it, that's the price on it, and then they go, oh, well, you do this for £30, and it's like, that doesn't take out the fuel costs, your living down there, your food down there, your exchange rate and things like that. And I think people have kind of got to go, the person's worked hard to get this item, or the person's worked very hard to get the item to the standard and to get this so it's here in front of me. And I think the thing now with obviously your Chinese and your influence of mass producing, they can ship them across straight away and it doesn't affect anybody, and nobody's involved in that. It's just some guy at one end putting it on a boat, sending it over, and the other guy picking it up and going, yeah, that's stock. So
Yeah.
It's really taking it back to that sort of dialing it back to the really basic transactional nature of things,
Yeah.
rather than working with these
Cutting out
big,
middleman.
big,
Yeah.
big companies that don't really
exactly. And I
care
think,
about
I
you.
think, yeah, and I think if we can buy, I mean, we always set out to go and get the best price because we want our customer, our clientele, to get the best price. And I've always been of the nature, I mean, there's many dealers out there that are different. I mean, if I buy well, I sell well. Whereas some dealers buy well and it doesn't matter, they'll sell it for the price it's worth. So if I see, that's why my prices, I think, and I do relatively well at fairs and things, is because I don't look at the cost of what the item's worth. Obviously, I have a bit of an influence. Obviously, if it's worth £1,000, then obviously
Yeah.
I kind
got
of
a rough idea,
A rough idea, but I like to kind of make obviously your doubles, your triples. I like to have
It's
a
a
set
business at the
amount.
end of the day.
I like to have a set amount that I can kind of go, yeah, I can let that go for that because I'm happy in myself. It's that. And I've never bought, I mean, I bought a couple of absolute howler of items and I've been completely mugged out of money. I've been like, as far as I bought a Barcelona chair and it was a cheap equivalent and I paid £300 for it and it's worth about 150, and so you're losing £150 there. And I know, rookie errors.
Shabby.
The dealers will be going, what a rookie,
Yeah.
what a rookie now.
What a noob.
So,
But I think what you're saying is, despite, because, again, hearing what you're saying, I wouldn't personally want to get up early. And all the difficulties that come alongside with it, the sort of insecurity of it being self-employed, your own business. But the thing is, you're still doing that day in, day out because you're doing something you enjoy, so it makes it worth it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what it boils down to.
I think if you enjoy, don't get me wrong, I could never stay in bed past a certain time. I think that people that know me definitely know that I'm messaging at kind of replying to text messages at kind of 6:15, 6 o'clock in the morning as a norm. That's like the time I wake up. If I haven't replied past 7 o'clock, you need to phone because it's seriously a panic if I haven't replied by that time.
Yeah.
So I mean, and I think it's just it's the passion for it, and I think I like getting up early, starting, carrying on, and then at the end of it going, yeah, that's it for me. I'm sorted. I'm done, and then I'm finished by. Bear in mind, if I've gone to an antiques fair, started at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and worked through, I've done a full day before 12. So it's like for me, it's a nicer to be able to go, yep, stop at 12 o'clock, that's it, and then cut off then, and then that's it for the day, and then wake up early tomorrow. So, I'm the boring one that goes early bedtime, then early riser kind of one. So
if I, another scenario,
hit me.
if you,
I won't question it afterwards. I promise.
if I want to buy a chair off you,
Yeah.
one of your brilliant
ones
Urkel
behind
Danish. If you're offering,
Look at these.
do I get the first one for free to get me hooked? As my furniture dealer.
Is it like a drug?
Yeah,
Is, that,
yeah,
is it like it's like a dealer
Do
drug?
I get it free? Is that and,
Is
then
that-
and then I keep coming back?
Yeah.
I need some Scandi. I need some mid C.
I think that there's a weird kind of hooked with it. I think it's as much as I'd love to say no, and make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
There's a serious element.
Oh,
that's
we've
kind of-
taken this somewhere I wasn't expecting.
There's a serious element of kind of an addiction with it, and I think that obviously there's a terrible things with addiction out there and things, and obviously I'm not making light of any of those kind of things
of
and
course.
stuff, but there is an addiction with a furniture addiction. As much as it's a weird scenario to kind of put yourself in, it's that wanting to get up and wanting to get a deal and wanting to go out and wanting to barter with somebody, have a bit of
hustle.
a yeah, exactly, and it's a bit of a joke and a haggle and I I think you just want to be able to kind of, and
a bit Del Boy, you know.
yeah, and it makes it. I don't know. It makes in my mind, it makes yourself a bit human, as in like, because it's what. Obviously, people enjoy doing it, and people want to do it because we get so many people that go, "Will you do this for this?" and "Will you do this?" So there's obviously somewhere there's a historical influence, and it could well be, like you say, it could well be a Del Boy because everybody watched it, and it's like, and there was an element of kind of going, yeah, do you know what? We love doing this deal thing. We love doing this bartering. Let's do some more and things. And I think I've been hooked loads of times where I've gone on spending sprees and then spent too much and gone, right, I need to stop now. Like, I've bought too much. I mean, you can see the amount of stock around me that I've just bought. It's just covered.
As we
in
said,
stock.
the nice way is organised chaos.
Yeah,
That's,
and rolling it right back to the start. It is a bit of organised chaos, I'll be honest. There's a day bed that's a Guy Roberts.
I mean, there's a
Daybed
jar
behind.
of something over here.
Yeah,
I have no
yeah,
idea
what's
what's
in
in
that?
there.
It
Is that
is.
like your own sort of home brew or poison?
It's
What
a
are we?
home teak brew.
Oh, wow!
Beautiful that. I'll get a video of
There's
that.
a
actually.
Karcher pressure washer. Other brands are available.
Yeah.
An orange stool.
No, so this is an interesting one. So this is an Italian designer. It's been remade, so it's actually not that old. To be fair, so but it's got that kind of.
We'll
beautiful-
put it on. We'll get some pictures and we'll put
Yeah,
it on
it's a beautiful modernism style. It's designed by the guy who actually designs Lotus and does the
Seriously?
shapes for them. Yeah, so it's beautiful. I love that. It's a very nice piece. But I'd say you've got the two Guy Roberts behind me. You've got those two beautiful. They match the day bed that's behind you. You've got Nathan sets of tables, beautiful kind of storage units.
He's got all sorts.
Everything. And as I say, it's the I think it's the fashion that I want to kind of get back into most. I think so. I think that's a bigger kind of thing that I want to kind of get back into, get working back to. And I think it's kind of where I want to kind of be really and stuff. I want to get back into it mainly for the fashion kind of element really and stuff, because I do miss it as
Yeah.
much as I love to say, oh yeah, I love doing the furniture, I love doing the those bits of Danish, Scandinavian furniture and things. I would like to be able to kind of offer that alternative to your big companies like your ASOS and your Topshop and your and Topman and all those kind of things. So I would like to get back to that kind of element, I think.
So, if you had sort of, in closing, if you had one bit of advice, you know, for the one man and his dog, optimistically that is, I'm saying that, listening to this podcast, one little Buddha-like piece of Zen wisdom that people will remember you for all eternity. You know, what would it be? Whether it's for people our age, people starting out, just your little sort of your mantra, your maxim. What is it?
I think, to be fair, you could go through and you could quote everything, like kind of everything from under the sun and things, but I think the biggest one that I've always kind of lived by and things is that you've got to be a little bit crazy. I think that's the whole point of it is you've got to live a little. Obviously for the people that just believe in life after death, this won't be for you. But I think you've got one life, and I think you have got to completely just go for it. You've got to do what you want to do and stuff. Yeah, and exactly. And I think bringing back that 2014 saying or 2010.
Oh God, let's not, please.
So
let it die.
Let it die. I think that. Yeah, I think you've got to be a little bit crazy. I think you've got to kind of. I think you've got to take your normal and make it just a bit more colourful. I think that's the biggest kind of advice, I think.
Brilliant.
Yes, that about wraps it up for this week's episode. If you liked it, let us know. Jared, I hope you enjoyed it.
It's been a fantastic experience.
Thank
I
you.
enjoyed it thoroughly.
Slips fiver across the table.
Fiver goes across. Yeah, of course.
And if you want to email us, you as listeners, we'd love to hear from you. You contact us at lifearewethereyet@gmail.com. We'd also love it if you gave us a follow on Instagram.
I will.
At Life Are We There Yet? That'd be fantastic.
And where can people find you on social media, Jared? Just
so,
a little plug for yourself.
Yeah, of course. No worries at all. Just as a quick thing, I just want to shout out, obviously, a couple of places that obviously my 55 Mill Street, fantastic shop, Curiosity 3-story townhouse in Ludlow, which is where my main unit is. So I work there kind of every Tuesday, and most Saturdays and Sundays I'm around and things. You've got...
He's the one with the deep voice.
It's the guy in there with the deep voice. Yeah, I'm the only one in there. Don't worry about it. You'll find me. Anyway, you'll hear me before you find me, but you will kind of find me, and then shout river, and I'll probably reply. To be honest, so and
It's
then
very dramatic, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
River.
Yeah, exactly.
He appears.
And it appears
Mystically
magically.
out of nowhere. You call?
Here with like a clothing line already on my arm. Before
want some alcohol?
This. So obviously, as I say, just shout out to 55 Mill Street. You can go and follow them at 55 Mill Street. You've got the Vintage Home Show, which I've just come back from Manchester. So they do a fair in Coventry, Manchester, and Leeds. Fantastic events that Keeley runs. They have a fantastic crowd that go there and things. Obviously, I try and stand at all of them. I try my best to. You've got Lady Bay Vintage, which is another fair which is coming up in Nottingham around about the 25th, 26th. I don't remember the exact dates because organised chaos and everything like that. But you can go and follow them all at Vintage Home Show at Lady Bay Vintage. And yeah, just myself finally is at Sixth Link and then hashtag Sixth Link as well. So.
And I strongly and highly recommend you do go and have a look at that because it is pretty damn cool.
Yeah, go and join the 1800 others. Woo!
Oh,
Drop in.
well, we're probably going to have like 2 followers at this point, just me and you.
I'll send someone over, don't worry.
So the only thing left to do is to say thank you to Jared for being a wonderful guest. Funny.
He's waited
so long.
all podcast.
To,
the whole thing. I've watched that. I've watched that coming up.
Oh, I've seen it in my eyes. Thank you to Isaac for being here.
It's all right.
Ever present. And to say, as always, keep plodding along. Goodbye.